Welcome to our podcast, When Life Gives You Lemons. I'm Kevin Henry, and my partner in crime in life is Pommy Henry. I have a rare disease known as spinal cephallar ataxia, which is a neuromuscular disease. This has left me mobility challenges while I speak with a speech impediment, noise-induced anxiety.
Living with these disabilities for over 20 years, we have developed helpful hints and life lessons that we would like to share with you that has made our life easier and possible in some cases. We consider ourselves disability advocates and intend to educate ourselves and you about other disabilities and issues, and also talk about things we find interesting and frequently encounter when we're out and about. Hey, welcome to June, Kevin.
Hi, Pommy.
Hey, what are we talking about this month?
I think we're talking about mental disability.
So mental illness then.
Well, I wouldn't really classify all mental problems as illness, but yeah, they need to be treated by professionals in that regard. So maybe there are all illnesses.
That seems like a complicated condition.
Well, it's a complicated issue.
Yeah. So when our researching this, we came upon 3 common causes of mental illness, and I'm going to run through them, and then we just list one, and then we'll discuss it. And there's 3 total.
Okay, before you start listing them, though, let's go ahead and make everybody aware we're not doctors, so we're just reading stuff off paper.
You've never.
The internet tells us to. So, as we all know, the internet is always right. So
That's our disclaimer. We're not medical professionals, so take our advice as you will.
yeah, we're only here to advise, and the advice is generically talk to a medical professional.
Right. All right. So the first common cause is genetics. Like a family history of mental illness, it can increase the risk if another family member has a mental illness, but it's not guaranteed that each individual will develop the condition. That's pretty straightforward, yeah?
It's pretty straightforward. I think it's like with any genetic disability, it depends on
Your genes and which genes you inherited.
Genes you inherited and how it's passed down family lineage-wise.
Right. Second cause, most common cause, is brain chemistry and or structure. This would be imbalances in the neurotransmitters, or the structural changes in the brain can lead to mental disorders. So I assume that we're talking like an illness that causes brain damage, or like in the case of cerebral palsy. Is that considered a brain structure or chemistry?
It can be. I think Alexis explained that it can result from trauma.
Right.
At an early age.
Yeah, so that's kind of leads us to there. And then the third one would be environmental factors. This would be traumatic events such as abuse or significant life stressors can cause mental health issues. And I'm wrong, there is 4. So the fourth one is physical health.
Now,
so
bear in mind, I have you on record to say you're wrong.
only time in my life.
Yeah.
Right. So let's talk about
This is the only time Pommy has ever been wrong.
Or admitted so.
Admitted, probably, that's accurate.
Okay, so let's talk environmental factors.
Okay.
So this would be like chemical or poisonous things that would affect the brain.
Now, would that still be passed down
No, it's not genetic.
hereditary or just...
Well, I don't know.
Well,
Again, we're not medical doctors. We'd have to investigate that a little more.
I imagine it would be possible if you're talking like heavy metal poisoning.
Right, where the whole family was, involved.
It gets past the fetus.
Yeah, or the whole family would be, it would seem like it was genetic because it was in the household while you were growing up, and I imagine everybody would be exposed to it at some degree. But, okay, so that explains the environmental factors. And then the fourth one that I completely forgot was the physical health. So that would be chronic medical conditions or neurological disorders can also influence mental well-being. And that's kind of where you would fall into that.
Right.
Because you have a chronic disorder that has caused brain issues.
Well, now it's caused mental issues, if you will. I get frustrated trying to do things I think I should be able to do.
Right. That's not mental illness, though.
No, but it kind of presents because it seems like I'm going to an irrational rage.
Right.
And,
just frustration.
I just kind of mentally snap.
Yeah, but that's not mental illness.
And then suddenly I let it all out.
So that's not mental illness. Mental illness would be, my example from you would be your anxiety, your stress, loud sounds, being startled with loud sounds.
Example of that would be like big holiday dinner at your parents' house.
Right, where there's a lot of chattering and
everybody seems to be carrying on a conversation from different parts of the house. The clattering of silverware as it's either set or washed.
A game on the TV.
Game on the TV with
right.
somebody else watching YouTube videos at the same time. It just all eventually seems to run out. My anxiety medicine, all I want is, get to where I'm running on empty, if you will.
Right. So again, these are it's important to note that the factors can interact in different ways with each different person, making the exact cause of mental illness unique to each individual, like we were talking with you. If you or someone else is struggling with mental health, again, it's critical to seek professional help. And we will state that several times in this podcast because it is the first step.
Yeah, it's like I said, mental illness is a little bit more difficult to diagnose in a physical disability, if you will.
But there are doctors that specialize in this.
An example, seems like I'm flying out the handle into irrational rage, and a layman diagnosing that would be probably correct because that's not a mental illness symptom. In this case, it's just frustration and me wanting to hold it in.
Right. But there are people that can help you, and those two doctors are a psychologist and a psychiatrist. And I've found throughout my life that it's difficult for me to distinguish. I didn't know the difference between the two.
I don't think it's just you. I always have had that problem too.
Right. So, and they're both have essential fields in the study of and treatment of mental health, but they differ in the educational background, the treatment approach, and the professional practices that each of them practice. Let's go over some of the key differences. So, for education and training, a psychologist typically holds a doctor's degree in psychology, such as a PhD or a PsyD, and their training emphasizes psychological psychological research methods, theories, and psychotherapy. Psychiatrists are medical doctors, MDs, who have completed medical school and specialize training in psychiatry. They are trained to understand the biological processes that affect mental health and can recognize how general health issues impact psychological well-being. So, what did you get from that?
Well, I pretty much think they're both going to say if you have for example, a mole that needs looked at, they're both going to say, I'm not the kind of doctor.
Well, apparently that was as clear as mud then.
It's very clear because one is like an academic.
Well, they're both trained.
PhD.
Right. They both have a PhD. One is an MD and one's a PhD.
Correct.
And one goes to medical school and the other one just has training.
Pursues physics as far as it goes, so you would be a PhD doctor.
Right. Doesn't necessarily mean they went to med school.
Typically you hear from, the guy that is Dr. Smith, PhD-wise. I'm not a medical doctor, or I'm not that kind of doctor.
Right. And so when they talk about treatment approaches, a psychologist focuses on providing psychotherapy, which is basically talk therapy, and are oriented towards how thoughts, feelings, and social factors influences behavior and mental health. So at this point, we haven't determined who can give a prescription and who has not, but we'll go further into that.
I've got that one figured out.
Okay.
But,
a psychiatrist can prescribe medication and often addresses mental health from a biochemical perspective. They may also provide psychotherapy, same as the one above, but due to healthcare economics, they tend to focus more on the medication side of it.
Well, I imagine that there are patients that are frequently referred to from a psychologist to a psychiatrist because that reason.
Right.
He needs medication to treat whatever's going on.
Exactly. So a psychiatrist can prescribe medication, and a psychologist occasionally, typically does not, but there may be occasions where they do based on the training they've received, the further training they have received.
It also depends on where they're located.
Exactly, which state they're in. Different states, again, we go into different states having different rules, and not federal laws do not cover this.
That's true in the U.S. I'm sure worldwide it's kind of the
same
thing.
Yeah. So in most cases, psychologists cannot prescribe medication. However, some states in the United States allow psychologists with additional training to prescribe certain medications. Psychiatrists, being medical doctors, have the authority to prescribe a wide range of medication as part of their therapy plans. Both the psychologist and the psychiatrist play complementary roles in medical health care and often work together, like you said, to provide the most effective treatment for patients. The choice between seeing a psychiatrist and a psychologist may depend on the nature of the individual's concern and whether medication is considered necessary as part of the treatment plan. So I think I'm clear on that now.
Yeah, I also think that, for example, with doctors, they're, familiar with medication in general, so the psychiatrist would have a leg up prescribing stuff that may interact with other drugs.
Exactly, because they do have a PhD, or they do have a medical degree. They did go to medical school.
Right.
So now reading into our background here, I was super surprised that the most common medical health problem in the United States is anxiety disorders. Over 40 million adults in the United States, which is about 19.1% of the population, have anxiety disorders. This category includes various conditions such as general anxiety disorders, a panic disorder, and a social anxiety disorder. Are you surprised?
Not really.
Really?
Yeah. We'll go into that later when you get another definition.
Okay. Additionally, mental illness is quite pervasive in the United States, with more than 1 in 5 adults living with mental illness, which equates to an estimated 57.8 million people as of 2021.
I think here in the U.S. it's a lot more prevalent, if you will, because of the work environments Americans undergo.
Right.
For example, a farmer in Africa may not have as much anxiety because of the work he does. Now, granted, there could be other environmental issues that contribute to that anxiety.
Right.
Yeah,
Well,
so
war.
We're not talking about
If you're talking Africa, war would be one anxiety.
We're not talking about being in the middle of a war or starving or drought or whatever.
Right.
That
So,
can pretty much go with anybody, anywhere.
honestly, I think a lot of it might be the fact that Americans don't have a good work vacation type
Work-life
ratio. Yeah. Yep. So when you were in Europe, you'll see just about every country where they value vacation time, where I think in America we value our status at work much more than we value taking a vacation every couple of weeks or something like that.
Yeah, I guess some people could call that work ethic.
Yeah.
I think it's more accurate if you use the term work-life balance,
Right.
because it's not really all the time. It's like when you say work ethic, it implies how well you do your job. That's not always the amount of time you spend doing your job.
Right. Yeah. So I think that has a lot to do with it. Typically, a average worker would only they'll get holidays off, but typically they have a vacation time of less than a week per year that you get, in your benefits, and you have to work up.
Also, you're talking about, we have a different culture where we're not paid for vacation time or time off, usually. Some of that is changing, and again, that depends a lot on where you live and who you work for.
That's true, yeah. Okay, well, let's talk. You do have a mental illness. You have anxiety. It is prompted by your medical condition, which is the spinal cerebellum ataxia. So how do you handle your mental illness?
Basically, if you're familiar with yoga, I try to keep calm using basic techniques, breathing techniques, meditation, and frankly, it reaches a point where I start concentrating so much on trying not to be anxious that it gets frustrating because I really am not able to keep up with conversation or with whatever I'm trying to do.
Okay.
So,
And also you take medication.
I do.
And we know that things tend to...
And I would share what medication that is, but we just change it, so I don't recall what the new it is.
Yeah. It is a very low dose. It just kind of mellows you out, and it helps with your sleep because you have anxiety with sleep. But we also have other items that we use to help you navigate normal life, and that would be your noise canceling headphones, right?
Correct.
So if we know there's going to be a lot of noise or background noise or children or anything that might set him off.
Some things really get to me in my brain more than others. Higher pitched voices tend to get it. Again, with my physical disease, ataxia, my reflexes are exaggerated. So if I hear a loud boom, for example, at a fireworks display, instead of just, getting startled like your average person, I jump out of my seat.
Yeah, and when that happens, then all your other, like your movements, spasms, are increased.
Yeah,
because you've let loose.
I'm not trying to explain it to you because you know full well why that is, but it's like you're annoyed, you're frustrated.
Well, your brain is occupied trying to figure out to do all these things that it naturally would do automatically, and you actually have to think about it. So your brain is really tired, and especially at night. It gets worse at night, I think.
It certainly does.
Yeah. So we are hyper aware of what we need to have in order for you to be able to proceed through your life at a normal, we want to go see family. We want to go see friends. We want to watch games on football games on the TV. And so we have learned to navigate different things in order for you to do that and enjoy it.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. People will see me in the VA issued me this wheelchair, so it's got a big Department of the Army seal on the back of it. And, so people assume when I jump out of my seat at a movie theater because there is a loud boom, I have some sort of PTSD combined with whatever else I have going on. And that is not always the case. PTSD can result from any trauma, car accident, a house fire, a robbery, the causes of it are real, and the triggers of it get vary greatly.
Well, that leads us right into our next conversation, and it's the symptoms of PTSD.
Okay, first explain what PTSD is, if you would. Post-traumatic stress syndrome.
Okay.
Or trauma.
Right. It would be
disorder.
I was going to say there's a D in there somewhere. So they're grouped into 4 types. One would be intrusive memories, reoccurrence, unwanted, disturbing memories of a traumatic event, flashbacks, upsetting dreams or nightmares about the traumatic event. That can happen to anybody and in any part of your life. Like you said, an accident, seeing someone killed in front of you.
A lot of it really depends on your personality. I know some people that if they obsess so much about their school grades, if they get anything less than a day on an exam, a major exam, it's going to give them PTSD.
About testing.
Yes.
Yeah. Avoidance, trying to avoid thinking, talking about a traumatic event, avoid places, activities, or people that remind you of the traumatic event. I can see that. Yeah. Like active military not wanting to be present in during fireworks.
Sure.
Yeah. So
not only active military, they can
be retired or
I've served where those sounds you're hearing are often they relate with
the traumatic event. Yeah. Negative changes in thinking or mood. So this would be negative thoughts about oneself or others, hopelessness about the future, memory problems, difficulties maintaining close relationships. So yeah, that seems, I didn't realize that was a part of the PTSD, but that makes sense.
Yeah.
So changes, and the fourth one is changes in physical and emotional reactions. So that would be where you're at there. Being easily startled or frightened, always being on guard for danger, self-destructive behavior, trouble sleeping, irritability, and anger outburst or aggressive behaviors.
And with a lot of anxiety, there's a tendency to try to self-medicate, self-diagnose, self-medicate. And you absolutely can't do that because they might be symptoms of something else that's going to be recurring.
Right. So it's important for anyone experiencing symptoms of PTSD to seek professional help immediately. And we told you above where you should go, either psychiatrist or psychologist. I do want to talk about some type of treatments for the PTSD. They typically involved medications and psychotherapy, either alone or in combination. Medications like sertraline and paroxetine or fluoxetine can help reduce symptoms of depression, while therapies like cognitive behavior therapies, exposure therapies, or eye movement desensitization and reprocessing, EMDR, can help change the thought process and manage symptoms. It's important for anyone that have experienced the PTSD to seek professional help immediately.
This is where we previously talked about emotional support animals.
Right, yeah.
They're usually very important in treating any sort of anxiety or depression, or can be very important.
Right.
I think my mom was telling me about horse therapy once.
Right. Yeah. When I was younger, we were involved in that, where children that had mental illnesses were allowed to come out and ride the horses. It was like a training session, and it was to get your mind off those intrusive memories or intrusive flashbacks or negative thoughts or changing your emotional reactions to things. So there's a lot of ways that are very beneficial and connect to a lot of our episodes that we've done in the past too. So
yeah,
very complex, but I think we have the basics. I think I'm a little clearer now on the psychiatrist, psychologist aspect of it. And I think that's all we have for this episode.
Okay, didn't you want to explain a little bit about our support program on the webpage?
Oh, yeah, that's right. So we now you can go to our webpage, and what is that, Kev?
It's called Buy Me a Coffee.
No, our webpage, what is their...
www.whenlifegivesyoulemons.net.
Right, go to our webpage, and on there you'll see where it says, please buy us a coffee. And that is our way of supporting the podcast. And another advantage for you is if you do buy us a coffee, you'll be entered into a chance to win our exclusive artwork from Dana Ives.
One thing you did not say that I think may be relevant is if you're listening to this beyond 2024, this is, our yearly thought of trying to provide you, the listener, something for that support you're giving us.
Right. We want to give back also.
I have no idea what future years will encompass, but for this year, that's it.
Yeah.
So if you're listening to an old episode, This is 2024, and our season typically winds up in around November.
Right. So enter quite a few times. We can always use some coffee.
And if you actually are wondering about this and not sure if we're still doing it, you can get on the website and text us.
Yeah, we want comments. Let us know how you're liking the podcast. If there's anything you'd like us to investigate for you.
Let us know if you're getting value or what we could do to give you that value.
And our opinions are not always right, so feel free to argue. Kevin loves to argue.
I don't love to argue. I just seem to find a lot of people to argue.
All right, bye now. We are always looking to improve the podcast, so if you want to hear a specific topic, have a differing opinion, want to add something to the conversation, drop us an email. Our contact information is listed on our website. It's www.whenlifegivesyoulemons.net. We have recently added a companion YouTube channel called Making the Lemonade. If you enjoy the podcast, continue your enjoyment by joining us on YouTube.